YouTube the Vibe podcast. I'm going to let you know that with episode 2, we're talking about the election that's up and coming, and we're talking about how God will put rulers in place that the kingdoms that they're ruling deserve. Um, he did that to the Jews. They were disobedient. He basically sold them off. And so they had to go through trials and tribulations due to their disobedience because they weren't doing the will of God, right? And so, as a country, as a nation, can we say America is still one nation under God, like it used to be? Um, it's changed over the years. People have become more selfish, more self-centered, wanting to kind of do things that glorify them, idolizing individuals as opposed to holding God to His level of where He is and His meaning. And so, what the nations have done over the year, what the United States has done over time, has become a place that is okay with um, murders on the streets. DAs are soft on some of these murderers, so they'll murder somebody and be back on the streets the next day awaiting trial. Then they go murder somebody else, and we wonder why. Soft on crime, soft punishments for crime, especially your violent crimes. I mean, obviously there's the piddly crimes that don't hurt anybody, but if you hurt another human being, like there should be some consequences to that, right? But we become a nation where it's not it's inconsequential for somebody to do something like that, especially teens. You get a teenager shoot somebody, man, they'll probably be out as quickly as a decade or so. And it's tough because then you put them back out there, and then they continue the cycle. And the thing is that maybe they want the cycle perpetuated, so they keep putting them back out here again. That's a battle. That's something that I've thought for myself, being a black African American male in the United States, talking to teenage African American males, trying to figure out what's the problem. I got 3 sons that are mixed, so I have to make sure that they understand right from wrong. I have to make sure that they understand we don't take people's lives. I have to make sure that they understand we show people respect. We show them love. We show them we are a generous people. If we have it, we'll try to give it. You know what I mean? That's the mindset that I try to instill in my kids. And so when I see these teens out here and I see what our culture has come to, where they don't get love at home, so the gangbangers say they'll love them. So then they'll go spend time with the gangbangers because gangbangers will love them. They will love them. They will hand them a gun and put them to work, man. Pay for them, make sure they're fed. Because what they want is a sense of belonging. They want to belong to a group or groups of people. They want to belong to something, and so that's what they're looking for. Like God didn't create us to be alone. Some people, "Oh, I don't want to be alone." Yeah, well, you weren't created to be alone. Now, are there times when you got to be in solitude by yourself? You have to go solo. Yes, because Jesus, when he went up on the mountain multiple times to talk to his father, he went by himself. So it's important, yes, to get Christian to have that personal relationship, but we have to also understand that we have a duty as Christians to be able to bridge the gap for these individuals that need Jesus in their life, right? They need the opportunity to see a different way, that there's a better way than the way that they're taking currently. But we don't give them that opportunity because we're too busy in our groups. We're too busy worried about our clique, our gang. We got our own gang. We've essentially sat on our hands for so long that now we look at a community, and I'm not saying all Christians are doing this. I know a lot of great dudes. I know a lot of great men, a lot of great Christian men and women that are taking care of business on the front line. They're teaching their kids the way they're supposed to be taught. Their kids are disciplined, well behaved. They believe in Jesus as well. Like if you force your kids to pray, if you force your kids to do certain things, they're not going to have that relationship. It has to come from them. Put them in a place of comfortability, but they also have to see it from their parents. So if you're not bearing fruits of somebody that glorifies what it's like to be Christ like, generosity, loving, caring, kind, all those things that Jesus is, strong, courageous. We don't If you don't exemplify those attributes, it's hard for your kids to be like, well, I want to be like that. Because a lot of times what happens in households nowadays is kids just get to kind of run rampant, right? So essentially the government has come in parenting our kids, so we don't even get to parent our kids anymore, right? So we have to understand what has happened to society and civilization. And we have to understand that what has happened, what is continuing to happen, started a long time ago. This ain't just happened. We can't just build, well, Democrats did it now or Republicans did it now. We can't do that. It's been happening for a long time. Now, when it comes to politics and policy that has caused issues, you look at the war on drugs. Like you're mass incarcerating people for a little bag of marijuana, yada yada yada. I read a story about a guy from California that had a little bag of marijuana and a gun, got life in prison. Right? That's nuts. Like, dude didn't kill anybody, he didn't harm anybody, didn't rob anybody. He had two stupid things. He made a dumb decision to have two stupid things. I don't think that deserves a life sentence, right? Murdering somebody, yes, absolutely. Messing with kids, absolutely deserves a life sentence. But dude made a mistake. We all make mistakes. We're all human beings, right? But what that did is that law when it was enacted, right? So they build all these prisons. They gotta fill them, right? And so they filled them. But you got to look at the most marginalized group of people are going to be the ones that are hit the most. It's not going to hit your upper class people. They're going to still be doing their cocaine and all that jazz because they won't get caught. But the war on drugs is that little bag, that little crack rock or that bag of weed. It was black men, black men and black women, and then some of your lower class Caucasian people that were getting popped left and right. So they're in prison, and you can't blame law enforcement because law enforcement is doing their job in these situations, right? The laws are passed, so they have to enforce the laws. That's what we do as law enforcement. So once the law is passed, we got to enforce it. We're not here to judge you and say we're better than you or you're this or you're that. We're not here to say that, well, because you're in a lower class, I'm going to take you to jail. I'm not going to take the high class guy. I'd rather take the dude with the cocaine, with the brick of cocaine, than somebody with the little bag of marijuana. Like, you know what I'm saying? We understand that, but the problem is we are governing. So we are governed by the government. So you can't be mad at the lowest level of governmental authority because we're governed by the government. Like that's how we are governed. And so what I never understood is that. But that took fathers out of the homes. Now you got men incarcerated and the kids see their dads are in prison. And so now the kids don't have there's no protection, right? Because what do men represent in the nuclear family that we speak of? Men represent discipline, respect, order, those things. Women, nurturing, caring, loving, right? It's the reason why I mean nothing is more important than mom in the first couple of years. Nothing's more important. Like dads don't even exist. We exist to hold the baby when mom tells us to. We exist to get a baby to bottle whenever mom wants a break. We exist. But once they get past that phase where now they can take care of themselves, they can eat and drink on their own because mama taught them those things. That's what moms do. That's what motherhood is about. Motherhood is teaching them the basic necessities to be able to survive on their own. Now, dads come in a little bit later. Now we instill them with what it takes to be successful out inside the world, outside the home. That's what we do as fathers. That's our job. If my kids leave the house, they need to understand what it means to be successful out in the world. And I have to teach them and give them that. That's something I have to give them, right? Mom is here to help too. She gonna nurture. She gonna take care of and love them because sometimes dad gonna be hard on them. Sometimes they gonna need the mama love. Sometimes the mama love, they like, man, I need a little bit tougher love because kids like boundaries. They love boundaries because it's a safety thing. So they feel safer when they have those boundaries. So now the government is taking them men out of the house. Now you get kids that lack respect, have no boundaries, and now those kids are the ones that are up in my age range. You get your 25 to 35-year-old range. Those are the kids that got affected heavy because of that 90s drug bill. And so a lot of us grew up without fathers in the home. There's no, no, I'm not knocking on mothers. I will never knock on moms because my mom did what she had to do, and she got it done. There was no questions asked. She just did it. I know that there were tough days, but she handled business. And so, as a Christian, we have to understand that policy has an effect. What these different parties stand on has an effect, right, on Christian values because we value the family. So if a party doesn't value the family and what the family was created to be, and I think that's the key right there. What the family was created to be: man, woman, kids, not woman, woman, man, man, and all that jazz. We don't, I just can't get behind that. I can't get behind a party that pushes LGBTQ over the black struggle. I mean, black people want to say, "Oh, racist, this and that." Man, we are dumb. As black people, we have become the laughing stock of America. We're so short sighted. We don't understand what's happening out here. Pay attention to what's going on. Black Lives Matter lasted a couple years, got rich, and now they're gone. They can care less. You did not hear Black Lives Matter marching when the lady got shot because she was holding a pot of water. Man, like we didn't hear Black Lives Matter didn't come out. They were quiet because they got their money, they got their mansions. They did what they came to do, and they did it fairly quickly. I mean, it took less than a decade to get what they got, and people were behind. Oh, Black Lives Matter, yes. The slogan, yes. You have to be careful with the news as well because the news will push fear. They push fear on us so much that I mean, look at what happened with COVID. Let's talk about COVID for a second. COVID hits, people were so scared. People were out here getting shots. They didn't even know what was in the shot. Like, we made this shot in 2 months. Okay, I'm get fear will cause people to come out of character. I didn't have no fear. I didn't get a shot. I didn't have no fear. And I'm a frontline worker, so I'm out there in it. Like, but I still go to work. I still showed up. If you had COVID, you had COVID. I still got to do my job. If you call 911, I'm gonna show up. If you call 911, you can guarantee I am gonna show up. My partners are gonna show up. It don't matter what our day is going like. It don't matter, man. We could have stress at home. We might have financial stress. We have relational stress, family stress, but we still gonna show up. Which brings me to my next point: defund law enforcement. I can't get behind a party that wants to defund law enforcement. I am law enforcement. That'd be kind of stupid for me to do that. Uh, but in general, even before I became law enforcement, I respect law enforcement. My mom taught me that. I've been pulled over plenty of times when I was a teenager, out here riding dirty or whatever they want to call it. They pull me out and I respect them. Hey, I need your license. All right, whose car is this? Let me get the information out the glove compartment. Cordial. I'm a black man in America. I'm cordial. You get what you put in. If you put $5 into an ATM machine, you gonna get $5 back. You don't put $5 in and expect to get 10 back. That's not how it works. Whatever you put into the bank account is what you get out of the bank account. But I can't get behind a party that wants to defund protection for the average everyday citizen. Who you gonna call? There's staffing shortages already in law enforcement. That's bad enough. People don't even want to be cops no more because society has pushed so much hate on them that it's like, why? What's the point of showing up? So it takes people like me that get over that hump, that hate, right? And trust me, as a black officer, I get it more from my people than anybody else. But that hate, I understand you hate the uniform, but I'm gonna still be me and I'm gonna show up, do the best I can with what I got. I will show up every day and give 110%. Are there lazy? Are there people out there that should be out there? Yeah, but that it's the job, right? It's the way the job works. And so defunding it is not going to put more great cops on the streets. I can't get behind the party because God set all authority in place himself. You can't go against God's authority because at the end of the day, who is responsible when the authority messes up? The authority is. If we mess up, we are held liable. Our bosses mess up, they are held liable. What I love about the Lord the most, he tends to put things in play uh, to make sense, to shed light on certain things, right? He's good at that. He did give his own people over to the Egyptians. That's what they deserved. They were disobedient to the word of God, to the gospel. They were disobedient. They got handed over to a ruler that they deserve. They deserve that. So we have to ask ourselves the question, what does America deserve? And keep praying. We're gonna get who we deserve. I'm not gonna tell you. I mean, I could go into my mindset and break it down for you on why I think a certain person is gonna win. Um, and I understand this, but that person is what we deserve. as a country, as a nation, and we're gonna see that you reap what you sow. And we've sowed some things, and we've let some things slide. As Christians, we was voting. We was voting Democratic. We was voting. We voted. I voted for Obama. I put my hands up twice. I voted for him both times. Saw him flying the LGBTQ flag. Right. He was supposed to be the president for black people. Didn't do nothing for black people. Flew the LGBTQ flag. Right. I can't get behind it. There came a point in the last about 4 or 5 years where I realized that I can't I can no longer fake it till I make it. I actually got to start trying to actually make it. And that's where I'm at. That's the reason why my mindset has changed on a lot of things because I understood that God desires us to be set apart. He desires us to have a different mindset from those of the people of the world because we're from the world, but we're not of the world. The world is a place that we are at. We live in the world, but that does not mean that we are the world. We don't represent it. We represent something better. And if you represent something better, you can't get behind things that you disagree with. Can't get behind things to do so. I'm asking you guys as Christians to look inward and say, okay, what is it that this party stands for? I don't care if the person's black or if you like the other person because he speaks his mind. I don't care about none of that. What does the party stand for? Write it down. Take notes. Talk to people. Ask questions. You can ask me questions in the comments down below. I'll tell you. I'll tell you what I know and I'll tell you what I've seen from my experience. But I want us to think differently this time around because I feel like we're at a crossroads now where broad is the gate in the path that leads to destruction, but that narrow way. And he wrote that in the Bible, that's in the word. So he wasn't talking about non-Christians. He talking about Christians. So even in the realm of Christians, you got 100 of them, 20 of them gonna pick the right path. That just is what it is. The numbers don't lie. And God didn't lie either because he put it in the word for a reason. He put it in the word. He put in the word. Atheists ain't reading it. Oh, atheists going to go on that broad path that leads to destruction. What atheists reading the Bible? They didn't put it in there for atheists. They put it in there for us to understand that even inside Christianity, we not all on the right path. There's Christians on the wrong path all day, every day. I was on the wrong path. I've been on the wrong path. My journey is crazy. My journey is absolutely is nuts. I didn't waver so much in my faith over the last like 15 years. I don't even, it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm 35. My faith was stronger from 13 to about 18, 19. That's when I had the strongest level of faith for the Lord Jesus Christ. Now I'm different. Now I've had to go back. I've had to turn back the clock. I've had to try to get back into the old me, the old ways of understanding the relationship. Because I didn't got into what the world was telling me. Man, the world was telling me, you're black, you gotta do this. You're black, you gotta believe this. If you're black, you gotta vote like this. If you're black, this is how you're supposed to act. If you're black, this is how you're supposed to talk. I'm a Christian. I'm a saint. I love Jesus Christ. So I'm not gonna act like none of that stuff they telling me to act like. If you out here doing stuff that the world is doing, you are of the world. You got to understand that. There's a difference between Christ-like and around Christ. Some of y'all just be around Christ just to be around because y'all want to sit there and say that y'all was there. So think about that this year as you guys go out to vote. What do the parties stand for, guys? What do they stand for from a Christian perspective? This is GT the Vibe Podcast. Like, subscribe, and share, please, guys. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.